God, stepping out and taking courage and breaking forth what God is instructing over His people tonight. Amen. Praise God. Aren't you thankful for men and women who are hungry to hear His voice and then not keep it for themselves, but to break it forth and just impart it, empower the family of God. Hallelujah. Amen. Praise God. All right, I'm looking at the time. Amen. I just want to see, I'm just going to go in right away, and I'm going to give you what I feel the Lord has given me to give to you tonight. And praise God, I'll get out of the way and just let Him continue to be extravagant and be excellent tonight. Amen, over you. So I'm just going to say, Father, I thank you so much. Thank you for bringing me here tonight. Thank you for revealing yourself again so clearly to me. Lord, I'm just overwhelmed tonight with the joy of your presence. I thank you, Father, for the healings that you have performed here tonight in the name of Jesus. I thank you, God, that we have went to war in the name of Christ and through the blood. We have pleaded the blood of Jesus over our circumstances. And by faith, we receive the victory. I'm so grateful tonight, God, for your glory and your anointing in this house. Holy Spirit, I pray that the words now that come forth from this vessel, that you would take it directly to their hearts, their most secret place, and you begin to challenge, you begin to encourage, you begin to empower their destiny, and that you have called them into in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Hallelujah. Can we applaud Him again? I like to clap my hands, and I like to praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Praise God. So the Lord, a few months ago, I was in a place. I've been through a lot of changes in my life. I have been in the cemetery business for 24 years, and it's been a good job. It's been a good, steady job for me and my family. And I ended up just real quick. I kind of got a little frustrated. After 24 years, you would think that there would be a bit of respect, or because I work hard. One time, the sales office, they hired a man, and he came in and he said he was a child of God. And I'm just telling you what they told me. I'm just going to share what I heard. And you have to understand that when I got this job, say all things work together for good to them who love the Lord and who are the called according to His purpose. Now, I might not be a super Christian, but you can't tell me that I don't love what God has done in my life. Hallelujah. I went in to buy a suit one day, and the man who was taking care of me, the rep there, I went to buy a suit, and he goes, "What you getting a suit for? A special occasion?" I said, "Yeah, it's always a special occasion on Sunday, because I'm getting a suit to go to the house of God." And then he looked at me, and I thought, he goes, "Now, how were you baptized?" I said, "Excuse me." He goes, "Because you know that you have to be baptized in Jesus' name only." And I said, "Well, wait a minute." I said, "All I know is," and because that's what he said. He goes, you have to be baptized in Jesus' name only, or all you have been is just wet. That's what he said to me. And I said, "Brother, let me tell you something." I said, "I was baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost." And I said, "You can't tell me by your little religious tradition that tells me that I haven't been born again, because I'm sitting here listening to the stupidity coming out of your mouth. I don't know about you, but I know who I once used to be, and I know the man that I am now. And I'll tell you what, I'm just overwhelmed with what He's doing in my life. Praise God, I'm overwhelmed. I love it. I love to see the kingdom of God come to fruition in the believer's life. And you can't tell me that I don't love the Lord today. Hallelujah. And there's one thing, I love the Lord with my whole heart. Hallelujah. But praise God. So anyway, I got disgruntled at work. Long story short, I didn't handle it like a man of God. Because what I was trying to do, I was trying to demand respect. Oh yeah, let me go back to the Christian. Okay, let me go back to that real quick. So there was a man who came in, and when I got this job, you could ask my wife. I said, "Honey, I'm about ready to quit this job. I mean, these people are rough." And I believe I made the wrong decision. She said, you just hang in there, baby. I'll tell you what, at 24 years later, I've seen people born again. I led a man to Christ, and his wife left him because he became born again. He said, "What do you want me to go back to the bars? You want me to go back to the strip clubs?" And let me tell you this. I got so much, I'm going to try to hurry. I led him to the Lord, and he came to work. He said, "Dan, I want you to baptize me." And at the end of the day, everybody left, and I was looking around. I was going to baptize him. And guess what I found? I found a casket. Hallelujah! That's right. I opened up a casket. And then not long after that, I worked hard. Because listen, I'm a big cut up. I'm a big boy. I tell people, my wife has 2 children, I have 2 children, my wife has 3. Because I'm still a big boy. And I love to laugh. And I love to cut up and I love to enjoy life. But there's nothing more serious to me than to be set free from the bondage of sin. There's nothing more serious to me, and there's nothing more powerful than to plead the blood of Jesus. Hallelujah. I tell you what, the miracle working power of Christ needs to be evident in the souls of his children tonight. And this is why this is important, because we got to get what we get in here and get out there and set them free. We got to set those who are sitting in darkness free. Hallelujah. You have something powerful tonight, and the devil wants to minimize your position in the kingdom of God. He wants to convince you that, oh, it's just for Apostle Glenn. It's just for the First Lady. It's just for the anointed saints. Let me tell you something. If you've got the blood, you've got the power, my friend. And you need to go commission and full of the Holy Spirit and get out there and get you some souls saved in the name of Jesus Christ. Hallelujah. 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 So then this man showed up. And I hadn't seen him. I was always out on the grounds. And all these men that I worked so hard to show that there was integrity in this life, that I was the real deal, that I once was lost but now I'm found. And all of a sudden, all these boys that had worked with me for many years, they say, Dan, man, there's a guy up there. He says he's a Christian, and he's flirting with the married women, and he talks. He says things that I never thought a Christian should say. I don't know, Dan. I just don't know about this guy. This guy's real. And you know what? I began to tremble inside. And it began to show me how important it is that you need to be mindful of who you are. I'm reminded of Prince Harry. I don't know if you all remember Prince Harry, but he got out there, it's the Queen Elizabeth's grandson. He got out there at a party one night. He was all up there snorting coke and drinking, and he dropped his pants before a camera. And they caught the prince to the throne with his pants down, and it went on social media. And I tell my people, I said, now can you see grandmother of the Queen? Henry, please, sit down. No, sit down here. But grandmother, no, I am not ready to hear you talk yet. Harry, you were born into a royal family. And royalty does not show their backsides in public. And this is where the world is beginning to laugh at the people who say that they are born again Christians. I spend more time trying to convince people who say that they're Christians and trying to tell them, well, God created pot, so why should I be able to smoke myself a joint every now and then? I mean, come on, he's the creator of all good things. See, this is probably my last time I'm going to be invited to, because this is how I preach where I come from. Because the thing about it is, see, I was drowning I was an excessive drinker. I was an excessive drug taker. And the devil tried to snatch my soul because somehow he understood there was a purpose for this little old boy. And I tell you what, all I know is when God saved me, he changed the way I talked. When he saved me, he changed the places that I used to go to. He changed the things that I used to long for. And I know it the whole time, but I tell you, when he got me good. I wasn't a pastor then, I was just a worship director. Dan, I don't know about this guy. He says he's a Christian. Anyway, I was disturbed, but it showed me the importance. It showed me the importance that a city that is set on a hill, its light cannot be hid. And there's a purpose for that city. There's a purpose for that light, and it's to send direction to those who are stuck in the dark places and give them a place of direction to get out of their circumstances. You see, that's the theme of our church. It's finding stability in a world of chaos. Let me tell you something, the world is in havoc right now. And we need the real deal. That's why you're here. That's why that sister comes all the way from Kentucky. Say, I want some Holy Ghost tonight. Hallelujah. Amen. Because it ain't going to fill the house sometimes. When you're seeking, when you're trying to step into the fivefold ministry, it's scared. You know why it's scared? Because they're full of demons. You shouldn't feel comfortable when you come in the house of God and you're sleeping with your neighbor's wife and you're addicted to pornography. You shouldn't feel comfortable when you come in the presence of God. You shouldn't be able to sit on the front pew and try, oh, I like this song. No, if you've got demon and you are practicing a regular life of sin, you need to be convicted. And that's why there's not more people here tonight. Because Christianity has become a buffet. I'll take streets of gold. I'll take blessing and prosperity. Oh, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave holiness over here. So all of a sudden I met this man. Hey, Dan, I heard you. My name, I think his name was, hey, yeah. Hey, he goes, so I hear you're a Christian. And the Holy Ghost rose up beside me. I said, why don't you ask those who work with me? Well, why don't you ask those who work with me? Amen? See, I can sit here and tell you what I am, but I could just be shooting off a bunch of words. Amen? Praise God. Man, that's another story in itself. Hallelujah. But praise God. Anyway, so I got disgruntled after 24 years. We had a woman who came in. She took charge of the sales department, and she was in it for one thing. She was in it to make money. And I get the corporate world. I get we got to make money. But when you're dealing with people in the most darkest hour of their lives, it means something to me. It means something to me that we meet them with eyes of compassion. We give them a good God bless you and say, can I pray with you? And all she wanted to do was me to serve her. She wanted, you do as I say. And anyway, I had worked like 2 months straight. We were an understaffed crew, short of long. Anyway, she called my boss in Wisconsin and said that I was a insubordinate employee. And it didn't matter what she said, but it's how hard that I worked to be a man of God, to be a man of integrity. And I should have found joy in that trial, but I let it get a hold of me. I let it get a hold of me, and then a seed began to sprout in me, a seed of bitterness. And I became embittered as an employee. And as a man of God, as a Holy Ghost-filled man of God, I allowed that circumstance, that situation, to rock my world. And so what I did, I began to make hasty decisions. See, isn't that what happens? When you allow a seed, a root of bitterness to sprout in your soul, you can't think clearly. I believe it was First Lady that talked about forgiveness, or this pastor right here saying that you need healing, but you need healing for forgiveness and releasing a root of bitterness. Can I tell you, a root of bitterness will cause you not to think or to see clearly. Amen. Hear me now. So all of a sudden, I began to make hasty decisions. And what I did is I ran off for some more money. I became a supervisor in Berkeley at another perpetual care cemetery. And I thought I was okay because my operations director was a good friend of mine. And I allowed my confidence in man to push aside the place that God had for me and step out for more lucrative opportunity. And what I stepped in was the worst mess of my life. 50 years old, I don't know a whole lot. My children, they're the smart ones. My wife, she's the smart one. I'm just a hard-working man. I'm not crazy about technology or anything like that, but I stepped out there. Now, I ended up with a union crew. They were all disgruntled. I had one employee that got dismissed from one cemetery and ended up over here, and they were all laughing and I started finding all this out. And I went to my buddy and said, you lied to me. I go, first and foremost, you should have gave me more money. Because you knew what I was facing over here. But let me tell you something. That moment, that pressing time, and Apostle, we were talking about it a couple weeks ago. You were talking about the testing and the trials and the grooming. I looked at it as grooming. I believe the Holy Spirit revealed to me He's grooming me. And so I stepped into this situation that was just chaos. And I've never prayed so hard in my life. I began to speak in tongues as soon as I got in my car. And I prayed in the Spirit a half hour there. I prayed in the Spirit all day when I was out there in the gardens. And I prayed in the Spirit all the way back. And I tell you what, I began to cry out. I said, God, and as I began to break myself and to humble myself, He began to reveal to me, you are an anointed man of God. Why would you allow one circumstance to cause bitterness to rise up in you? You left as a man that's disgruntled. You should have left as an anointed man of God. You allowed the circumstance to get a hold of you, and you should have left as an anointed man of God, and you left as an embittered, disgruntled employee. That's not a decision that a child of God should be in. Hear me now. The Lord began to speak to me, and I said, you're right. And then I broke myself. And I fell upon the cross. And I said, Father, I see exactly where I made a mistake. I see where I went wrong. And I don't know about you, but true repentance is a key right here, folks. I ain't talking about that little, I screwed up, God. Hey, anyhow, turn the channel, right? And He's forgiven. No, I'm talking about He caused me to go to the cross, the place, the instrument of suffering. And I broke myself, and I ripped a hold of those blood-stained drips that rolled down this cross. And I said, oh God, I need you to forgive me. I was wrong, and I want to be humble. I want to know your voice. And Lord, I tell you, you just get me out of this mess. And I said, this is what I said to him. I said, I'll stay here and I'll serve you valiantly. And I'll serve you with righteousness and obedience. I said, but God, if you can make a way, because you're a way maker, get me out of this mess. God, help me to get out of here. I'm sorry I screwed up, and I'm the first one to admit it, Lord. God, get me out of here. Oh, hallelujah. Then all of a sudden, I got a phone call. I have now had 2 jobs. I had my one job for 24 years. I have now had 2 jobs in the past 5 months. And that's just not me. That job, I got a phone call. And my old supervisor said, hey, Dan. He said, why don't you put an application in over here where I'm at? He said, it's really good here. He goes, and I hear rumor has it that they're going to hire 3 more people. And I said, 3? Oh, there's a sign. Father, Son, and Holy I took off. I didn't speed while getting there, but I was sure praying the whole time. I got there. I filled myself out an application, and I ran in there. And I dropped it off. And I think it took a week and a half. And I got the phone call. And it was the manager of HR. And he said, my name's Mike. And he said, I'd like to meet with you. I said, when can you meet? 2 days later, I met with them. There was 2 other men, and they sat there and they interviewed me. And I said, can I tell you that that's the first interview that I ever felt the presence of God. I sensed the anointing of God. The glory was right there. And let me tell you, this is what getting serious with God. Releasing the independence of your life and depending on His will for your life. Let me tell you, that's something powerful. And as they began to talk to me, and as I began to answer, I sensed the Holy Spirit. And anyway, they asked me, they said, okay, these are all the questions we have for you. Do you have any questions for us? I got them. I said, well, I appreciate your time. I said, but when can I start? And then he started around. He goes, well, it's kind of a long process. He said, so maybe a week later from this point here, he goes, maybe you'll hear from us, then we'll try to get a hold of you then. We're going down the road. Me and my wife, I can't remember where we're going. So I when I filled out my application, I put her as the emergency contact. So here I'm driving down the road, just glory to God. All of a sudden her phone rings. She said, hello. Who's this? Why are you calling this phone? I'm like, who are you talking to? And she goes, oh, she's not mean. I don't want to think. She just didn't understand why somebody was calling me on her phone. So I don't want to make you think that Sister Jill's mad or me. She's not. She just didn't understand why somebody was calling me. So she goes, oh, honey, it's the cemetery you applied for. And I got on and I talked to the head manager there, and he was laughing. He goes, boy, she sure is I can't remember what he said. He sure is real or passionate or something like that. I go, yeah. But anyway, he called me back the next day. Praise God. I'm putting in my 3 months of my 90 days at Friday. I get a 50-cent raise every 3 months. Hallelujah. I'm union. I've never had a union job in my life, and they treat me like a king. Hallelujah. They give me a mandatory $2,000 raise every year. Mandatory. I make more money now than I was making when I was supervising. Hallelujah. I say God is good. And He broke up His favor over my life because He wanted to see some sincerity. He wanted to see some repentance and say, you need to conduct yourself in a different manner as a child of God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Now I'm going to give you this message real quick. Okay? Real quick. I want you to see this, okay? Praise God. 7:36, Apostle. 7:45. Is that what I'm going? 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. I'm going to give this in 10 minutes. You don't have to go there, but I'm going to read it real quick. You know what? I know a sister back there. She's probably fast as lightning. These people on these computers. So I'm going to go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, 16 and 17 real quick. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 16 and 17. I'm just going to say, because this is a powerful word. And I have to say this because I tell you what, it's never, the revelation, it's so practical, it's principal teachings, but the revelation was just astounding to me. And I have to impart this to you real quick. And so I want to break this forth real quick. 1 Thessalonians 5, starting with verse 16. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in everything, say everything, give thanks. Now listen to this. For this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. Amen. I asked my church family a couple of weeks ago, I said, who here in this room is interested in living out the will of God for their lives? And every one of them shot their arms up so fast. There was no hesitation. Can I tell you something? For the believer, there's something indistinctive in your soul. There's something that's, you just can't help it, but there's a hungering and a longing to be in the perfect will of God. Can you say amen? Isn't that the example that Jesus led us? He said, I love people, but the will of God is the most important thing for my life. Amen? Amen. So what the instruction here in Thessalonians, it says to rejoice always. Hallelujah. Pray without ceasing, and in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. So real quick, and I know you all heard this before because of this anointed man, but I think it was Paul who said it this way. I'm going to repeat it because it's just going to help you anyway. Amen? To remind you is just profitable for you. So to rejoice always, it means literally to get joy and to get gladness at all times. And I said, oh my God, what are you trying to say to me? To get joy and to get gladness at all times. Here, this is the question that I posed. I said, how many here believe that joy is an emotion? It's not an emotion. It's a decision. It's a conscious decision that one has to make that is based on the revelation as a son or a daughter in the family of God. Hallelujah. In other words, though God slay me, yet I'll serve him. What he's looking for is a passion and a desire that says, Lord, right now I'm in the midst of hell, but I do know you've saved me from my sins, and irregardless how this ends up, I'm on my way to glory. I'm going to be walking down streets of gold. I'm eating from fruit trees that bear forth 12 types of fruit. Amen. So in other words, no matter where you're at, you have to make a conscious decision. It says for those who are in, that means you have to position yourself in the right lane. Hallelujah. That means you got to get in the right place. It's a conscious decision. Amen. Praise God. Now, I'm going to say it fast. Now, hold on. Go with me. So he says, rejoice always. That means to get joy, to get gladness at all times. And this can only be attained through revelation. Right? Revelation of your position as a son and daughter. Amen? Praise God. Right. Now, he says, pray without ceasing. I looked into that. It says, it doesn't mean to go through many words or just traditional memorization and pray. It means right here. It means to live in a state of worship. Yes. In other words, being mindful. Yes. When you're on your job, when you're out there on the softball field, yes. When you're playing basketball, always to have a mind, living in a state of worship, being mindful of the things of God and how good he is because you're his son and he's your daddy. Amen? Amen. I'm going fast, all right? So then he says, in all things, say in all things. That means everything. Hallelujah. That means everything. Look at somebody and say everything. It says in everything, give thanks. And here's the key. For this is the will of God concerning you. Now here's the will of God. See, I have to break things down. And the will of God here, it means his desires, his pleasures, and his purpose for you. His desires, his pleasures, and his purpose for you. Amen? Isn't that important? Don't you want his desires? Don't you want his purpose? Don't you want his pleasures to be lived out through you? Amen? All right. So say it one more time. Say in everything, give thanks. All right. Now let's flip back to Philippians real quick. And I got to see that in Philippians chapter 4, verse 4. Oh, look here. It says, rejoice in the Lord always. What does that mean? You got to get some joy. You got to get in. You got to position yourself. You got to be determined to get joy, to get gladness. It can't be accomplished without revelation. You have to know who you are today. Hallelujah. And whose you are. So he says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. And then he says, let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. And right here, verse 6. He says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Say thanksgiving. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And right here, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart. That word guard there is a military term. That word guard there, and what does it mean? If you give thanks in everything, the Bible says the peace of God will guard. He has commissioned the spirit of peace to guard your heart and to stand outside and to watch over you. Hallelujah. You might not get that right, but watch this now. Okay, so I'm going to jump forward. I gotta jump forward real quick because I gotta end it right here. Because here was the revelation for me. Okay, so we're gonna go to. Oh my God, I got so much written. My computer broke down. I can't print paper, so I'm handwriting everything, which I like it. I've been really liking it. I've been enjoying it. All right, so here, let me say this. So rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in all things give thanks. These are all acts of the will. They're conscious decisions. They're profound acts. They're powerful acts, especially in difficult or adverse situations. When you can rejoice, when you can be thankful, when you can walk in a state of worship, it's a powerful thing that you're doing. Here's the thing. Here's the key. Watch, here's the revelation. Because see, this is Supernatural Sunday, right here. And then this has all been about war tonight, hasn't it? This has all been about war, right? Right? So here, look at here. All right, so these conscious acts of the will, listen, I love this. The conscious acts of the will, they draw the attention of the kingdom of God. Amen? And they're all acts of gratitude. The Bible says that every good and perfect gift comes from the Father above. James 1:17. I want you to say gift. Gift. All right. Now, every gift that comes from God comes with a purpose. Hear me now. Every gift that comes from God, it has an assignment. It has a purpose. Amen? So let me tell you something. The revelation of gratitude. If you understand. Because what happens when we get fat, we get lazy, we get blessed. We start taking things for granted. Hear me now. Oh, here's the Holy Spirit now. He's coming right here. And he's going to give you something right here. Listen, right here. So the enemy wants, listen, every good and perfect gift comes from above. The enemy wants to devalue. He wants to minimize the gifts that God has imparted into the life of the believer. Hear me now. Now watch this. Right here. So every gift that comes from God comes with a purpose. When we release our gratitude to the Lord, we will release the purpose of the gift. Hear me. Now, wait. Okay, I gotta fast forward here. I'm gonna fast forward here. All right, now. So I'm gonna skip forward, man. There's all kinds of stuff. 1 Timothy chapter 4, starting with verse 1. 1 Timothy chapter 4, starting with verse 1. I'm going to read. Now the Spirit expressly says that in the latter times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from foods which God created to be received with, say, thanksgiving, by those who believe and know the truth. Now look here, here's the key. For every creature of God is good, and nothing is to be refused if it is received with thanksgiving. Say thanksgiving. 24 years of my life, I've read this scripture probably a million times. And I always likened it to food. Can you see I've been enjoying, thankfully? Hallelujah. I'm not ashamed of it. People say, Dan, you're getting fat. No, I say, I'm really in love. Because love is fat, and hallelujah. And that woman is an amazing cook. Praise God. And that's another message in itself. But here, let me tell you something. Here's the thing. Say thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Now, I want you to look right here. Listen, nothing is to be refused. He's an extravagant God that gives extravagantly tonight. Because the Bible says that every good and perfect gift comes from God. Listen, now here's the key. Verse 5. I'm going to read verse 4 one more time. For every creature of God is good, and nothing is to be refused if it is received with thanksgiving. Say thanksgiving. Verse 5. For it is sanctified by the word of God in prayer. Here's the conclusion. Sanctified means to set apart, to separate, to consecrate for a holy purpose, to separate for God and His purpose. And listen real quick, say thanksgiving. Sanctified means transferring from its position unto the care of God to set apart for His proper use as unto the Lord. Now here's the key right here. Here's the question I wrote down. It says, if a prayer of thanksgiving can sanctify my food. What is sanctified? That means to transfer from it, because the people were upset that they were eating foods offered to God. Paul showed up and said, hey, we're all filled with the Holy Ghost. You all know there's only one true God. Why are you getting all upset for eating some shellfish, brother? Praise God. Let's just bless it. Say a thanksgiving. And what did he say? He said, your prayer of thanksgiving, say thanksgiving, will set it apart, which means it will transfer from its state to the care and the purpose of God. Now here, right here. Question. If a prayer of thanksgiving can sanctify my food, what can it do for the other gifts that God has imparted to my life? My daughter started drifting away. And during this horrible time when I was crying out to God and I was seeking God and everything was unraveling and it seemed like everything was falling apart, all of a sudden God gave me this revelation. He said thanksgiving is not only a conscious act, it's a weapon of war. Hear me now, because when you start to thank God for the gift that He's given you, you set it apart, you transfer it from where it's at into His loving care. Oh, hallelujah. My daughter started acting distant. We had communion one morning at church, and she didn't take communion. The first time in her life, I've never seen her take communion, and I was troubled in my spirit, and they were saying my wife was attacked in her body with some horrible attack, and I'm saying, Lord God, what do we do? I'm feeling overwhelmed, and He said to me, give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks. And He said, it's not only a conscious decision, it's a weapon that I provided for you. And when you begin to give thanks, you transfer it from this state here over here where I'm at, and I'll brace it, and I'll pull it close to my loving arm, and I'll take control, and I'll take care of the situation. So what are you saying? Give thanks for your job. Don't worry. David said it this way. He said, God, why do you stand aloft from my groanings? Because a man and woman of God, it ought not be. In everything, give thanks. Today, this is the day the Lord has made. That means sunshine, that means storms. Give thanks, okay? Praise God. I gave it to you. Come on, stand on your feet, everybody, and give thanks for this word, for the man of God. Give thanks for the things that He has done. Come on, clap your hands, all you people. Shout unto God with a voice of triumph. Please be seated. Praise the Lord. Any final thoughts, prophetess, before we move?
Well, I just love his energy and enthusiasm. I heard at the end, before he even got up to sing and minister, I heard the Lord singing to me, thank you, Lord. I heard that song very clearly in my spirit, and I didn't sing it out loud because it was their time to sing. But he concluded with the thanksgiving, now I see why. And everything was intricately connected. If you see all the dots are connected, everything that was said in service is connected. The warfare, pleading the blood, it was just awesome and amazing because God is a mighty man of war, and we got to understand the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to pulling down the strongholds. So thank you for the strategy that you have given us today. The Lord prophesied that He was going to download some strategy, and now we're understanding peace was a strategy we need to use, and thanksgiving.
Hallelujah. We're going to have an offering for the man of God. So let's get ready to give our best offering. I challenge you with $20 today. Both of us, we're giving $70 today. Amen. And we want you to give your best offering to the man of God. Hallelujah. We were enriched with the word today. Praise the Lord. So please give something before you leave. I know we're over time. Actually, that clock is totally wrong, but that's okay. Amen.
I know you were looking down there and say, wow, look at the time. Yeah, well, it's about an hour or so different. Just come as you are. Give your best offering to the man of God tonight. The challenge is $20 if you can. God bless you. Hallelujah. Yeah. Amen. Excuse me?
Jerry left her off.
Okay, thank you. Amen. We do have point of sale, as you well know. Now we do have some fellowship and food in the back. Don't leave without getting some food. Amen. Because we prepared that just for you. Write out a check, write it out to Center of Attraction or COA. God bless you. We thank God for this man of God today. Stretch your hand to the man of God and all the energy that he expended, he and his wife and family. That today, Lord God, that you would grant back to him what he has expended to us 100-fold, God. We thank you for the testimony. We thank you for the word. Lord God, we promise with the help of the Holy Spirit that we will be grateful and that you would help us not to be bitter, but better because of us receiving the revelation of thanksgiving and gratitude. We receive it today. And now, Lord God, pour out anew and afresh on the man of God today in Jesus' name. We ask you to bless this offering. That those that have given, give back to them 100-fold is our prayer in Jesus'